Now, in another 3 days, the Buhari administration will finally serve out its term, leaving the reins of governance in the hands of President-elect Bola Tinubu. Between now and then, Osinbajo remains the Vice President of Nigeria, a post he's occupied for the past 8 years. On assumption of office in 2015, Professor Osinbajo was played up by his party men as exactly what the doctor ordered for the country's epileptic economy, while his principal, the president, the ideal fit for insecurity and corruption. With 3 days to go, the question is to what extent has Osinbajo delivered on that economic mandate? Well, we're now being joined by Laolu Akande, who is a senior special assistant media and publicity office of the vice president. He will also be sharing his experience working in Aso Rock for 8 years, as well as Nigeria's prospects under the incoming Tinubu's administration. Good to have you. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Now, can you tell us, since you're an insider, about just to what extent the outgoing vice president has delivered on his mandate?
Thank you. The mandate of the Buhari administration clearly was a very popular one. Won in 2015, won re-election again in 2019. And I dare say that, if you look at the metrics, there are sufficient, even abundant proof of the work that this administration has done, be it in the area of improvement of the security situation, the economy, and of course, fighting anti-corruption. The three major areas that President Buhari had articulated to be his priority. The truth of the matter is that you can't say that where we were, talking about security to start with, it's not where we are now, it's not where we were in 2015. Essentially, Northeast is way better. The people are even going back to the stadium. People are going back to their homes in Northeast. You don't have the kind of incessant bomb blast all over the country. You don't have a situation where 17 local governments were under the flag and the banner of a terrorist organization. And even in the area of the economy, only yesterday, we have the GDP figures, showing that we are in growth in spite of all the whirlwind, essentially, of COVID, of the Ukrainian conflict, and whatnot. So clearly, there has been a lot of work that has been done by this administration. And honestly, we are very proud of it, and Nigerians also appreciate it.
Indeed, Mr. Akande. Now, what was the vice president's relationship like with the president throughout the tenure? Were there moments of disagreement when it comes to national policy issues, and how were they able to go about that?
Well, I'm sure that you wouldn't expect me on national TV to delve into the presidential conversation between the president and his deputy. That is way above my pay grade. But I will say this very clearly. This president and the vice president have shown Nigerians a very good model of how people at that presidential level ought to interact, ought to have mutual respect. Only yesterday, the vice president, during the valedictory session of the Federal Executive Council, told everybody there that each time he enters, he meets the president in his office, they have such cordiality, and much respect, that even the president, each time he enters his office, rises up to welcome him every time. So these two gentlemen have shown us, the courtesy, the cordiality, the mutuality, and of course, even the shared vision for a great country. So what I will say to you is that they have worked together very well, and they are an example to the entire world.
Well, while their relationship might be one worthy of emulating, when you talk about accomplishing the mandates, you have a lot that might, look good on paper, but in reality, this seems to have been a grueling 8 years for many Nigerians. Not too certain how many would agree with you. So since you're pairing them together, and one of the things that has been raised by the administration is that they were not able to do a lot of things, but they were able to accomplish quite a bit in agriculture, infrastructure, and in equipping the military. But when it comes to the economy, just look at where we are as a country. What can you say about how much what you're saying about the vice president, how it compares to the reality on ground?
Well, so I'll tell you the story of over 1 million otherwise unemployed Nigerian graduates who, because of the Empower social investment program of this administration, are engaged. Whether they left the university, colleges of education, or polytechnics, we do have a program in place where for 2 years, government will engage them. That is ongoing. So they have a story to tell. We have the story of petty traders, over 2 million in the first term. I don't even have the figure for the second time, and I'm sure that it's going to be quite comparable. Over 2 million Nigerians who have received collateral-free credit facility that nobody ever thought they could get. Now, they have a story to tell. We have 50 million Nigerians on the social register, and about 5 to 7 million of them receiving conditional cash transfer as we speak today. Now, that has never happened in the history of this country. They have a story to tell. So the question is, where are you looking? I do agree very easily, that there are other things to be done. Maybe this thing has not gone as much as we would have, but clearly there are stories, credible stories of Nigerians in their millions whose lives have been impacted by this administration and who will never forget this administration.
Very good, Mr. Akande. Now, if we go back memory lane, while President Buhari traveled abroad and handed over to his vice president, Osinbajo, and there were concerns he didn't actually get much recognition in that acting capacity by some individuals in the cabinet. It was widely reported over time at the initial stage then. So how would you describe those moments and, in terms of the narratives behind the scenes?
Yeah, well, there wasn't a time when the president delegated authority to the vice president as acting president, and he wasn't able to use the authority. There was no such time. So each time the president, and this has happened 5 times in the last 8 years. On 5 occasions, the president did delegate authority to the vice president, who then became acting president. And in each of those 5 times, when power was delegated to him, there were no kinds of constraints whatsoever, because he had the authority. So, and clearly, I might add that, at those moments, on those 5 occasions, Nigerians, and in fact the president, have spoken very highly of his performance and what he was able to achieve, at those occasions. So it's not true that any time the power was delegated to him, there were any, there were no. Once the power is delegated to him on 5 occasions, he had the authority, and I'm sure that you yourself and many Nigerians, they are witnesses to his performance.
Noted, Mr. Akande. Now I want to go back to one of the first things you mentioned earlier about people returning to the Northeast because it's relatively safe and whatnot. But reports are suggesting that, based on the ongoing insecurity and terror linked specifically to the Northeast, that the level of banditry that's going on there is one that's never been seen in the history of our country. So I'm just wondering if you can, confirm what information or what statistics we should be going by in terms of your assessment, saying people are feeling confident in returning to the Northeast because things are now relatively calm.
Well, of course, if we're talking about banditry, it's an ongoing security challenge that this administration is sorting out. What again, Nigerians have come to appreciate is that the president has ensured that the military and the security agencies are being reformed, properly kitted in the last 8 years to be able to be more available and agile to deal with these problems. So yes, I concede that there's an ongoing banditry problem, especially in the northwest. But we are rearranging the security, the national security architecture. Trying to build the Nigerian military-industrial complex, looking at how we can make our security agencies more formidable, looking at how we can actually even spoil, the military-industrial complex. What can we produce? We do need a lot more ammunition. We are trying to see how we can produce more internally, not just buying. Now, so the point I'm trying to make here is that, look, you don't have an administration that is just sitting on their horse, and raising up their hands in surrender. No, there are diligent efforts, and we can see the evidence in the way, especially the military, has become really, really revitalized and reinvigorated under this president.
Very good, Mr. Akande. Now, let's take a look at Nigeria's future under the incoming Tinubu's administration. Yes, you did say there is still room for improvement. There are things that need to be done regarding the economy and other aspects of security as well. So what are your thoughts here? And will the Vice President Osinbajo have any role to play, probably advisory, as it were?
Well, so we made a point that before that is the same party that has produced the president-elect and the vice president-elect, and that is a very good thing. It's a confirmation again, that Nigerians actually do appreciate, what the ruling party has been doing. Not that there are no challenges. Yes, those challenges exist, but I think the election of another APC presidential candidate is to show that Nigerians still believe that the party, the progressives, as we are called, we are still the better options, just like the president said today at the conferment. Our party remains the better party, the best party to deal with the situation, and that itself is a confirmation of what we have been able to do. So I am confident, that the incoming president, a progressive, by every means of the world, every step of the way, a tested progressive, a successful former governor of Lagos State, is capable to take what President Buhari and Vice President Osinbajo has done, to take it very forward. So I'm quite optimistic about the future of this country.
Noted, Mr. Akande. Now, in terms of specifics regarding what's been accomplished by the outgoing vice president, of course, you're definitely aware of the Osinbajo strides, defining moments of an innovative leader, which was compiled by about 25 journalists, I believe. Would you say that encapsulates his achievements, or was some things missed?
Well, maybe this is where, I come with a shameless plug. We are going to have more rating. I am definitely going to write a bit of these things myself, once we are done in office. But you're right, the 25 journalists that came in and wrote this book, The Osinbajo Stride, they have done an excellent job, in my view, to document and detail the many achievements of the vice president. And I think, most Nigerians, if not all Nigerians, have seen that this vice president has shown sterling leadership qualities. You needed to be there yesterday at the valedictory session of the Federal Executive Council and the valedictory session of the National Economic Council, where the Vice President is chairman, and to see and to hear, all the accolades and commendations that the Vice President has won, and the Vice President has won this commendation locally, nationally, and internationally. It's just a question of wherever you are looking at. So clearly, the book has detailed his successes, but I can tell you that there is more that you are going to be reading about what this Vice President has done in the last 8 years.
All right, Mr. Akande, and still talking about specifics, this time in the health sector, I remember the Vice President had a knee surgery. He could have traveled abroad, as most politicians in Nigeria would have done, to take care of the knee, but he opted to have the surgery done here in Nigeria. So, is that a belief in Nigeria's health system, despite all the challenges there as well?
Yeah, so of course the Vice President, did have that surgery, at Duchess in Lagos, and thank God it was very successful. And part of what he believes is that, look, there's a way in which we can reform the healthcare industry, and the president, had also asked him to chair the Presidential Health Reform Committee. And incidentally, at yesterday's valedictory FEC, just before it started, the Vice President presented a report of that committee. And one of the highlights of that report is that one of the major reforms that has to happen is to make universal health coverage available to millions of Nigerians. And already, based on the report, we have about 55 million Nigerians whose information that has been collated, who will benefit from universal health coverage. Now, essentially, not, in a way that it is paid for. There is an arrangement for that, and that's just the minimum. And there are several other major reform details in that report that is now going to go forward to the incoming administration. So yes, we believe that we have the competence here in Nigeria, and what we need to do is to rejig the system, and the president has committed to it. Was why the committee was set up, chaired by the Vice President, who has now reported yesterday, and that report is going to be taken forward for the incoming administration. And again, I'm very hopeful that they will take it forward. There are two bills that is going to be presented, I'm sure, to the next National Assembly. And I have a very good feeling that the president-elect, once he gets into office and gets that bill, I have a very good feeling that they will sign those bills into law.
Great. So let's turn the spotlight on you just for a moment. I'm just wondering about what your experience was like, in the past 8 years. What were some of the high points and the low points playing this vital role that you did in Aso Rock?
Well, thank you for that question. I think, the first thing to be said, is that any time or anyone out of, 200 million people get a chance to serve your country at the highest level, that must be clearly a privilege, So I consider it a privilege and a great opportunity to be able to serve Nigerians, to be able to serve this Vice President, and of course, by extension, the President. Now, working with a Vice President for me is a product of inspiration. All you need to do is to look at his records from 1987 when he was Special Advisor to the Attorney General, and then 1999 when he became Attorney General himself in Lagos. Up to now, he has a very keen public sense. He has a very keen public spirit, and so working with somebody like that who understands the issues, who has the commitment, who has the character, who has the competence to get things done, has been very, very fulfilling. And we have managed, by the grace of God, to do quite a lot of things that one is very proud of. So there's a sense of fulfillment, this last 8 years to be part of this of this team that have redefined the essence of government that people ought to be, and we ensured that while we were there, people were at the center of governance. There are ups and downs indeed, but at the end of the day, you can look back and say this and this and this and this were the things that we were able to do here. So I have a sense of fulfillment, and working in the villa, in the last 8 years, let me just put this out, was so much excitement, and there were no demons in the villa. Please let me make that very clear. There are no demons here. At least when we were there, the demons probably disappeared.
No low points at all. It was perfect from year 1 to year 8.
No, there were low moments, no doubt about that. I don't know whether we want to go into details of low moments, but there were low moments. NSAS was one of such low moments. But we managed it, and we ultimately did what was right. We ensured today that even regarding NSAS, that people are being paid compensation across the country. One of the things that the Vice President did using the platform of the National Economic Council was to set up investigative panels of inquiry across the country, encourage the governors who had the authority to do it to do so. And in many instances, reports were filed, and people who were victims of forms of brutality today, either at the federal or the state level, are receiving compensation. So yeah, there were low moments, but you take everything in its stride, and it's an experience that one we forever cherish, to be able to serve your country at this level.
Indeed, Laolu Akande, Senior Special Assistant, Media and Publicity, Office of the Vice President, we'd like to thank you for your time.